What's going on, my friends? I know I said I wasn't doing a video probably till the first of the year. However, I get something on my mind. I want to talk about it. So we'll talk about that real quick. I talked about, I guess some time ago, some other videos about setting goals for the year. Now I'll share with you. So some of you probably think this is crazy, but it's very achievable. It's most achievable if you at minimum, if you do what I normally do already. I mean, and sharing my goal with how many tracks I want to do a year. Now, generally what I do is I will sit down and I will go over how many tracks for each publisher do I want to do, and generally it nails down to one thing I've talked about was do the most of what you're the best at and don't deviate from that. And I'm not saying don't, do a few extra genres of what you might be good at, but don't try to conquer every genre. And music licensing and music production, don't conquer every genre. You might can, but you've got to be the master of something. It's like I've said before, and I've heard it said before myself. Dave Croft said this very well and laid it out very well in one of his videos. You can be the jack of all trades, but the master of none. So you got to be a master of something, and you need to be that. So I take my best genres, and I don't know exactly how many of each genre that I'm going to do, but I know I'm going to do as many as I can. So I've got about 3 publishers that are priority that are getting me the most placements every year. And when they talk about it's a volume business, that's the guys you need to plug as much volume to in a year. Now, luckily, these publishers, 2 of the 3 I can get volume to them without them going limiting how much you can do a year. You got some publishers that say, we don't need any more for the year. Just get them what you can, But if you got a publisher that's not getting you a lot of placements, maybe pick a few here and there, blah, 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 and they're limiting or you only work on briefs, just do what you can for their briefs. But find those publishers that you can get volume to that are placing that music, and that music's getting placed, and you need to get more and more of it. So, I finished 2021 pretty much at 275 tracks for the year, across the board. And people, that's a lot of tracks. Well, it is a lot of tracks, but I'm setting my goal for 2022 at 400 tracks, and I know that's crazy and extreme, but I had some time off where I had my neck surgery. I was off, and there was probably about 30 tracks, possibly 40. I didn't get done there and some other stuff. So, if I would have had that plus some other time missed off, I would have gotten at least 350 done for the year. So it's 50 more. So let me tell you how my plan's going to go. I've already said one thing that will help you tremendously, and this is something that I know works. Now, I totally get it. If you're a singer-songwriter or you do orchestral or trailer music, you might not do a cue a day. Now, however, I do know on some of the trailer stuff that there are some guys out there that could do one a day. But at best, I do 1 cue a day of some of the stuff that I'm good at. Now, some things happen where it may take a couple of days to work on, but at best, you can make up. You can do makeup work and do that sort of thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. You do 1 cue a day and you want to do 400 tracks for the year. There's only 365 days in the year. Now, no matter how many days are in any month, there's always 52 weeks in a year. 52 weeks, no matter what, every year, 24/7, 365. There's 52 weeks and 365 days of the year. As far as I know, that hasn't changed. So, cue a day, you're going to take some days off. Now, I will tell you before I proceed that, and I had to do it this year, is that if you get to a point where you're sending a lot to a publisher and you feel like you're sounding samey, or sometimes maybe your publisher might say, take a break and change genres, or just take a break for a little bit. They're trying to tell you, let's slow down because you're getting a little redundant. You need to just take a break a little bit and just sit back. It's amazing what taking a few days off or changing genres of music will help you get back in perspective. Just kind of rest things in that genre where you're just not getting too redundant, and then getting back in it with a fresh slate. And I encourage you, don't burn yourself out. You're going to take a break. So with that said, there's room here that I'm going to take a break. But how I will accomplish this, and if I stick to what my goal is and how I'm going to do it, I'll at least get 365 tracks this year. That I'll do. But yeah, I'm always looking. There might be a few days here and there I'm taking off or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I may get so hardcore, do 2 tracks a day for every day of the whole year and just be 600-700 tracks. I highly doubt that was going to be the case. It hasn't been that way yet. However, I have pumped them out. I've got almost 300 done this year. I've actually done 300 in a year, so I know I'll get 300. That's achievable. But what I'm going to do is achieve this by doing a track a day, a cue a day. With some of the stuff I do, that's not hard. In a few hours, I can get one done. I can get it packaged, folder, put it in the file to either upload an album to one publisher or upload each day to the other publisher I do. And there's a third one that I think, provided they're taking them, that's good old Jingle Punks. I finally figured out, I think things are coming around with Jingle Punks. I can get 5 to 10 tracks a month depending on how many upload windows I get a month. It all depends on when they process it. Lately, I got 4, and then all of a sudden on the 31st here and the day after tomorrow, I get to upload 5 more. So that's the start of the year. If those are processed before the 15th of January, I'll get a second upload in January, and that's 10 tracks in 1 month. If that stays consistent for Jingle Punks for the whole year, well, there's 120 tracks to Jingle Punks for the year. I'll be happy if I get 35, 40 with Jingle Punks. I got a lot of tracks with Jingle Punks, but I got to keep feeding them music, and I got to figure out, I need to consistently send them what works for them, and it's really what I've been doing. But, some of the stuff I'm doing kind of with a little bit of a twist. I know it's working for me, and that's where I'm going to go with it. So you have to kind of look at, what your publishers are taking and divide it out. Do your best genres. Work for those publishers. But back to how I'm going to achieve this. A cue a day. Now, what I'm going to commit to do this is, if I can take 1 day a week and do two tracks, that's 8 tracks a week. 32 a month. What's 32 a month times? Hang on 1 second here. I surely should have had in my brain this calculated, but 32... And it's probably going to be more than that because you got to factor there's more than 4 weeks in some months. So, but on the average, this is going to average out to be more. Times 12. That's 384 cues. Now, if I say 8 tracks a week times 52 weeks, well, guess what, folks? That's 416 tracks. That calculates it better. 8 tracks a week times 52 weeks. Now, there's 16 days there I could take off and do nothing. You see what I'm talking about? Even if you took 30 off, you still got 385 tracks. That's a lot of cues a year. And I know some of you are thinking, gosh, that's extreme. That's crazy, man. How are you getting that volume and quality? Well, it boils down to one thing. If you are good with your DAW and you're really good at these genres and you know your tools and you know what to do, you understand how to structure this stuff, you can do it. Anybody who's big in this industry is pumping out more than me. They're doing more than 400 a year, I bet. There are guys out there that are literally doing 2 cues a day, pumping it. They're doing it, and I mean to tell you, and I'd love to get to that point, but you've got to it takes some practice. It's conditioning. It's that thing. You got to be, we're creatures of habit, and being accountable and there's some motivation there. You got to be motivated to do it. You got to be motivated to do it, and it can be done here. So, but going back to what I said about the publishers, my thing is I tend to go each year, I'll find a new publisher and send them 15, 20 tracks and sign with a new publisher here, a new publisher here. I'm kind of thinking that just sending 15, 20 tracks to a publisher here and there might be something I shouldn't do so much of, because I'm already with 12, 13 publishers, but I'm only working consistently with 3 solid, and then there's about 2 or 3 others that I'm working with briefs, bits and pieces throughout the year. In other words, how I've mapped it out is I've got 300 to my best publishers, and then there's the extra 100 tracks for these other publishers, whether I want to do some release music and send it to, I talked about in my last video, anything I release through CD Baby, which is through Spotify and Apple, streaming or just release stuff, I'll put exclusive with Audio Sparks because I can do that. I don't know how much a year I'm going to do it, but there's 100 tracks there to spare. I may decide to do none of that and put all 400 with these publishers. So it comes down to break down to each genre that you do and how much you want to do for each publisher. Really concentrating how many tracks you want to put for that publisher and then let it come, because what will happen, and it's happened for me, is simply this. You're going to have to go back and punt the ball, and something's going to come up where you're going to want to shift your plan for the year. In other words, there's a certain genre you want to work on more, or you may get a lot of briefs and projects. I get stuff where I get projects that are due come at me, and what I'm putting in these publishers proactively, I have to stop and work on those briefs. So you've got that time in the year you're going to have briefs you've got to work on. Sometimes your publisher's going to start preparing you. This is coming up the year. I think we may have a brief come up with that if you want to start working on that. I've had one publisher say, hey, man, down the road, we'll probably have a brief. I've got clients that are looking for minimal orchestral tension, or guitar tension type stuff, and you got to wrap your head around that and start preparing for it. And it's easier to kind of get ahead of the game, and then instead of waiting for the brief to come in, because if you start writing that stuff, once the brief comes in, you've already got a head start on it. If your publishers are kind of giving you an idea what their musical needs are, get on it. One thing I do, and I said this in one of my last videos, is each year I will email my publishers. Now, that's not to say all of them are going to email you back or right away. There's 2 of them I've emailed, and he didn't email me back. One of them I emailed, and he's like, yeah, have a great holiday, and blah, 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 but didn't tell me what his music needs would be for the next year. Maybe he doesn't know, and that's okay. Some are going to email you back, and some won't. But email them, say, hey, do you know maybe next year what some genres of music or what your music needs may be? I look forward to try to get you some music this year. You can skin this cat, no pun intended, in many ways. I mean, you can devote Dan Graham's method of 52 cues a year and go 52 for this publisher. I could do 52 cues for this publisher and 52 cues for this publisher. And 52, that's 4 publishers. And I already broke this down before. That's 208 cues a year for 4 publishers if you had 4 you wanted to work with. If you want to even them out, add another one. If I had a goal of doing 400 cues this year, you can imagine 52, that's 8 publishers, 7 or 8 publishers, which I'm not working that consistently for 7 or 8 publishers. I've got music in 12 or 13 libraries, but I don't work consistently for them because some of these libraries are like, we'll let you know we need that music or just check in from time to time. Some of them goes, we're just going to be sending out briefs. I've got 2 or 3 publishers that just work on briefs. One of them, and some of you may know, is Epitome Music with Ben Kopech. I've been with him since 2010. I don't have a ton of tracks with him. I have 25, 30 tracks with him. I just haven't done a lot of work for him because I've got little placements here with a lot of the Animal Planet stuff, a few tracks, but Ben's very picky, and I know one genre I do with him well, and that's about all I do for him. He only works on briefs, and he'll say, just send 1 track. And sometimes you get that 1 track, and with time allowed, very rarely he's going to say, work on another track. He's got a lot of composers that throw a lot of music at him, but you start to figure out that publisher's cool and you got music there and all, and you do what you can for him. There's no, he doesn't care. He knows I work for a lot of publishers. He knows that you're going to find the publisher that work best for you. Just try to send in what music you can. They don't take it personally. They don't care. But find those publishers that are going to take your music and take the music they're going to place. Don't just throw music at publishers and go, okay, it's there. They're taking a lot of my music. I've been down that road. You got a lot of my music. But then 2 or 3 years goes by and I'm like, there's no placements. Time to move on, my friends. Don't even wait 2 or 3 years. In a year, year and a half, if some placement starts coming, you can start to tell if it's a heavy hitter. Now, that's not to say down the road stuff isn't cool. It isn't going to happen because I've got, 800 and something pieces of music with one publisher that one day that stuff's going to be cool, and all of a sudden I'm getting all these placements. Just set it, forget it, and don't fret it. Just let it be. Leave it there. Move forward. Don't worry about those cues. It's just instrumental cues. It's one thing if you had one song you knew it was a really good song, and the publisher said, oh, I can have it within 2 years placed, and they don't get it placed at all. If you have a reversion clause, yeah, that 1 track, I understand if you want to move it somewhere else, it's all good. That's a whole different ball game. But when you're dealing with production music, just keep it and go. Move forward. I already said months ago, I made a mistake. I pulled 1 track out of Jingle Punks. And 2 weeks before I got my royalty statement, I pulled that track out of Jingle Punks. I get the statement 2 weeks later, and it had been placed on The Voice on NBC. And it was a track I never thought would even get placed from that publisher, but it would never have thought The Voice would have placed it. It goes to show you that don't assume or even think that somebody is not going to use that track or a publisher is not going to place it. It happens. Jingle Punks has a lot of clients, and they get a lot of placements. So, but that's my goal for the year, folks, 400 tracks, and that's the breakdown of how I'm going to do it. I'll do a cue a day, and I'm going to devote 1 day a week to do an extra cue. That's 8 cues a week. Now, if you take some time off and it exceeds it, what you want to do is just pick some days of the week throughout time to make up for that. Just, you can write down, okay, well, I didn't get it this week, or I only got 5 tracks this week, so it's like, okay, I'm 3 tracks behind for the year. If you hold yourself accountable, go, I'm this many tracks behind for the year, let's schedule time to make those up later down the road. You'll meet that goal. I know it seems redundant, frustrating, and some of you might be the kind of people like, I don't want to do all that because it takes away of my artistic value of it, or I just am not into it that much. It's a hobby that I want to be able to make extra money with, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. But if you treat this like a business and you love producing music, you got to love it. You're not going to do this many tracks if you don't love it, but you got to love it in order to do it. And if you treat it like a business and if it's something you want to do full time, this is what it takes, my friends. Anyway, I'm off. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Be cool. Thanks. Bye.